Hello guys, my name is NaToSaphiX. Today we have another video, and this time it is yet another episode of the FACEIT cheat code, the video series where I tell you what is the most common mistake made in FACEIT. For reference, I'm about 4,000 elo, a solo queue player at heart basically, and I see a ton of people making the same mistakes over and over. It's almost always map specific. So I'm going through the maps one at a time and telling you about the most common mistake or the two most common mistakes that I see occur in FACEIT, how to fix them, and sort of the reasoning behind why people make the mistakes. So what I'm trying to gear you up towards is winning more FACEIT games. That's essentially it. I started by doing this 2, then I did Overpass, then someone requested Mirage, and then shortly after someone requested Inferno. So that's the order I've decided to do them in. We're now, as I said, on Inferno. And if you've watched the Overpass video, where we talked about sort of spending a lot of energy on understanding how to block the easiest space that the T's will be taking, this episode is all about blocking the hardest space for the T's to take and why that is wrong. So, there will definitely be probably, let's say, 7 out of 10 FACEIT games that you play lost because B is a problem. That is just normal. B is a very difficult bomb site to lock down. It's a very difficult bomb site to hold. And this is the most heavily contested part of the map. We're not going to be talking about B almost at all in this entire video. And the reason being that a lot of people in FACEIT actually have a really good understanding of B. They understand where you need to place your molos, where you need to place your smokes, should we play passive, should we play aggressive. But B does come a lot down to, I wouldn't say luck, but at least a lot of 50-50 situations where obviously by using your nades a bit better timing or using maybe a retake combo or something, you can put the odds in your favor. But this is just the most heavily contested space on the map, as I said. And there will be many rounds lost. But as I said, CTs and Ts have quite a good understanding of how to play it because, again, this is where everyone goes every round. So we're not going to be focusing on that. What I see as my biggest issue when I play FACEIT is I'm almost always the long player because I am typically the team's highest elo player. And what I will do a lot of the time is using, for example, a smoke in mid, leaving mid, and then going towards B at the start of the round. That way, if the T's rush, or maybe not exactly rush, but if they go pretty early contact, I will be close on B. And I want to block, just like on Overpass, the easiest space to take, sort of, at the start of the round. Because if you make them know that this is not a sort of thing they can just do to win every round, they will stop going here, as much at least. So that's why mid is quite an easy space to take, so I will typically smoke mid. I have a few different ways of doing it. Sometimes I will do it by getting stuck into this corner and aiming on the shadow, doing jump throw. You can follow the smoke, jumps down and lands in the middle. Very slow one, which can be good and bad. Sometimes it makes the T's feel like they have a timing and they rush through the smoke, and I will just be here anyway. Sometimes I will throw it from here. It's slightly faster at landing, so you get stuck into this corner and you just aim at the top of this. This one, as I said, slightly faster at landing, but is thrown from further away. So you can smoke mid for your teammate faster and be faster towards B. So it all depends a little bit on the round. So now I've blocked mid, which is like the easiest space to take, so they don't just contact up mid. And in those cases, I will then go closer to B. I can, use maybe a flash if they come, or I can use my molo, I can spam the smoke. There's a million things I can do. But at this moment, the first 20 seconds of the round or so, the two most easy things to use in those timings, I'm blocking with the team. Now, what is going wrong a lot of the time is that when I leave long and I go towards B, for some odd reason, my short player feels the need to leave short and go over and take long. The reasoning behind this decision is most likely that he's worried that if someone walks long early round and goes behind B and kills us in the back, let's say, we might be upset or we will lose a round directly. There won't be any counterplay. The same if a guy immediately in a round walks long. Most of the time, the positions will be like balcony, maybe side, or balcony and under the roof. And no matter what, if this guy sneaks, kills balcony, looks for the short player, his teammates are rushing mid, the short player is just doomed. And so I understand the reasoning behind why he wants to block long, but I'm going to explain to you why he shouldn't. And it basically comes down to the fact that, first of all, in these rounds, I smoke mid. So when I do this, the chances of someone slow walking through this smoke is almost zero. They will always use, let's say, a smoke on short, or a flash on mid, or a Molotov short roof or something. And a lot of the time, if the CT, my CT guy on short, is just playing under the roof, he can see the walkout, he can block boiler, he can even play it like, I don't know, something like this, so he can see if they sneak. There's a million ways you could play it. There's many sort of, not maybe amazing angles, but decent angles. And what I would prefer in these cases is that when this smoke is about to fade, my short player would do something like this, just re-smoking mid. And now he's blocking it for an additional 20 seconds, which allows me to stay B a little while longer. But then also when this smoke is about to fade, that's the timing when I'm probably coming back to A if there's not a lot of pressure on B. And now I can use my Molotov mid. We can keep blocking this. Now we have mid. We still have two guys kind of ready to block the apps pop. We have a lot of info on A at least. And we have made it so the B players sort of are less afraid at the beginning, which can allow them to hold their utility a little bit more. Now, if, let's say, it happens, which happens so often, that my short player does give up mid and goes over to long, what happens if they actually go short or if they go apps pop? There is one specific smoke the T's will always use, and that is the small pit smoke. When this small pit smoke comes in, it effectively cuts the side in half. If they jump out of apps on this timing, and you are playing long as the short player, there won't be time for you to get back into the side and actually get a good position. And most of the time, there will be flashes up in this space, or over here, or bouncing on the balcony, which will blind you when you're trying to fight all these angles, effectively leaving your apps player alone on A side. How many games have you played on other maps where you are willing, in a 5 versus 5, as CT, to leave one of your players holding the bomb site completely by himself, without info? That is probably zero. So, you as a short player, your job is not to block long. Your job is just to make sure that if they come short, you block them. If they come apps, you help your apps player killing them, basically. If the T's want to take A, what's the easiest for them is going short, for example, Molotoving pit and throwing a flash like this, circular thing, a little bit under. This one bounces on the balk and takes basically all angles. And just with this alone, now it's very difficult to hold short even with two people. But imagine if you're just one. This is the reason why you gotta let long open. And if you, as a short player, at least have info mid, so if you're playing under the short roof, or if you at least have mid smoked so that they don't just probably contact out, you can still let your long player, who is probably towards B, know when long is open. And on this timing, he can then come back. He can try to come back and clear mid with you, for example, or he can just stay speedway to stay close to B, but still have info on this so no one gets sort of surprised if they come long. The reason long is a much harder space to play is because when you come out here, you have this angle, which is pretty common for an AWP. You have this angle actually earlier, which is common for an AWP. You have this angle, which is common for an AWP, this angle, but also you have to put your back on all those angles to clear this. And if you don't want to clear that with your back, you have to make so much noise on actually clearing it. If you want to use long in a pretty safe manner, you need a smoke here and you need a smoke here. And this is, at the very least, a two-man job, because otherwise you won't have enough smokes. Whereas going short, for example, you can take this angle, you can take these angles, you can Molo pit, you can put a lot of pressure just as one guy. And you could have already obviously smoked small pit to create even more pressure. You could have also just, smoked long so that the long player is not able to kill you for free, of course. This is a much easier space to play as just one guy. Whereas long, you almost always need at least 2, but typically 3. Which is why in a FACEIT PUG where teams are less coordinated, this is more like a much more rare occurrence, basically. And that's why you can a lot of time leave this space open. I hope my point is getting somewhat across. It is pretty, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's almost me, a little bit like the Mirage video, just me repeating over and over and trying to feed you more and more information to make it more and more obvious that what I'm saying is correct. But obviously, to everything there is a counter, just like we did the Does Too Long video at the beginning. I'm gonna now tell you and show you how to use long in an effective manner. So, if you do want to use long, a lot of the time, and it will be always much harder, that's the point, you will probably be using a long smoke. When this long smoke is about to fade, what I like to do is I like to do this Molo. Obviously it's not fading right now, but with this you can clear it, the smoke will then fade, maybe it's more like this timing. You see Molo comes in, now the guy I would probably spam, so that if he's falling back, then he's out. Molo is still burning, now I can be sure this corner is clear, and we can get closer. There are 2 opportunities if you want to take long. You can either like jiggle peek this and just smoke it by hand, or you can just put your sort of body in the middle of this. Doesn't really matter, like it doesn't need to be perfect. If you aim here and jump throw, this should hopefully, not perfect, I guess a little bit more before the shadow, I guess, and then on top of this, you can probably get a feeling for it. But this is one way to smoke it without having peaked this angle. It's obviously a little bit slower. Then I will show you another trick. If you are up close in this and you aim at the bottom, so like the sort of top of the door frame, this is the perfect library smoke. You see? No gaps. If you are on the back wall, if you aim at the top of this round thing, this is the perfect library smoke. So this is just another small tip. Don't throw your smokes like this and hope that they are perfect. As you see, this one is quite far out. And sometimes it's too deep and they can see. So if you do have the time, go ahead and use one of the 2 here. They are much better. But already, this will make so much noise that now the guys playing A side will not really have to worry so much about getting shot in the back for free. The long guy will obviously hear all this commotion, even probably the Molo, and be getting closer to A. And so this space is no longer just free for the T's. It really is only free for them if they somehow manage to sneak up mid with no flashes whatsoever and taking this space. And that's what, in my opinion, the short player should be focusing on blocking. So that's why if I'm the long player, I will smoke mid. The short player can, after this smoke, he can smoke it. He can also Molo it first and then smoke it, for example. He can play around this area, make sure no one is sneaking, and then he's blocking long and he's blocking short at the same time. If the T's want to kill him, they have to anyway force him back with utility. Then he can say, they're pushing me back short, I'm giving up long. In that case, a good long player will most likely say to the B guys, okay, B guys, you're alone, and start walking closer to long. He can ask for a flash, or he can... There's a million plays. What I like to do sometimes is just asking for a flash from the pit guy to short, and then I will slow walk peek long, basically. Or if I didn't smoke mid earlier and the short player used his own smoke to smoke first, I will do one of my 2 smokes, like this one. Then I will just bounce a flash behind this pillar, like this, which is pretty impossible for them to dodge if they're anywhere in this space except for behind the pillar. And then on this, I will swing out and try to clear mid. With this, I gain mid control back, almost for free, if I'm not smoke long. And if mid is clear in this timing, I will probably rotate over B again. But I hope I have made it clear. Again, I said it, it's pretty complex, pretty complicated. I hope I do make it clear, and I hope that I make you understand why long, especially in pugs, is just the same as overpass short. You need much more coordination, you need way better grenade usage, you need way better timing and all those things, running patterns, for this to actually be a viable way of winning a round. And should it happen that you play against a team who always smokes long or always smokes short and walks out in this space, or or for example, like you can also do the rep smokes from down here. I'm actually not even sure that this smoke will land, but you can do the rep smokes also from far away, you know. And if you meet a team, a FACEIT team, probably a 3-stack or 5-stack, who keep doing this, doing rep smokes and playing long a lot, the rules of the game for the long player obviously change. Now he has to help way more with blocking long. But the beauty of it is that if they put way more pressure long, it alleviates the pressure on the B players who now have less people to contest. So it doesn't mean that just because they start using long, the round is a whole lot easier. But try to focus on what's important. That's basically the most essential thing from this video. When you are the short player, blocking long is not really your responsibility, nor is it actually that important. As long as you are good at communicating when the gap is there, and as long as you try to not let them walk out long for free, you are basically doing your job. And should it come down to a round where you are long and you end behind the small pit smoke, honestly, most of the time, the better decision is just to save anyway and play the next round with 4 rifles. Because a round like this is just about impossible. That has been the 4th installment of the FACEIT cheat code, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. Make sure to tell me down in the comments which map you would like to see next. I'll get them all done. Some of them I could talk about for so many hours. So there are some where I could definitely make an episode 2 if that's something you guys would be interested in. That has pretty much been it from me. I hope that my point did come across. If not, let me know in the comments and I will try to maybe make a follow-up video to explain it even further. If you have enjoyed the video, please do leave a like and a comment and subscribe. If you haven't, my name is NaToSaphiX, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.